say, but it could have been separate cars. But I think with the conspiracy and the trying to evade the investigation is they saw this kid get hit and they're like, oh, fuck, what do we say now? Yep. And they probably try to come up with some story that wasn't true, and they have it on dash cam, and they have it on the they probably have body cameras on the officers over there, and there's probably audio and visual. So at some point they just listen to that and they're like, well, you're talking about this in the car, and then after the incident you guys are talking about this. If they had just been honest, I'm not saying it would have worked out better for him.
It wouldn't have worked out for Sutton, it looks like.
Well, no, the chase, why would you chase, like I said, the way law enforcement is moving in the direction it's moving, people don't want you to do anything. So just let the kid go. He's on a moped, he's 30 miles an hour.
Well, that's I got to say, on the one hand, I think it certainly makes sense because, again, risk reward, if somebody's driving their car, you don't want them driving where they might kill somebody else. An innocent person. If they're on a moped, the only person they're going to kill probably is themselves. And a motorcycle, the odds are with you that they're going to kill themselves. You still don't want that as an outcome.
You don't want it to happen, but I mean, most departments are changing their pursuit policies. Don't pursue anyone because it usually doesn't work out. Obviously, you would pursue someone who just kidnapped a child. Right? You would, and the child's in the car, you would pursue someone who just went into a grocery store and shot 5 people and the guy jumped into a car. You're going to pursue because of that person.
Because of imminent danger.
Absolutely. You will pursue that one. But this one, it gives cops a bad look, but to charge the guy with murder, I mean, witch hunt, come on. Everything a cop does nowadays, he's going to get a murder charge. He's going to get arrested.
We're going to go to the witch hunt. This is what we've been gearing up for.
I'm perplexed here. I'm on both sides here. I'm like, leave the cops alone, but then again, come on, guys, it wasn't worth what you're going to get in the end. Just back off and let the kid go, and you'll run into him sooner or later.
Again, the question is always the question of, did the cop show incredibly poor judgment? Were there extenuating circumstances? Let's talk about this thing about the witch hunts. Obviously, it goes back to the Salem witch hunt, the McCarthy era, the quote unquote communist witch hunt of the McCarthy era. I think there's an acknowledgement that there were a lot of similarities between those two. The Salem witch, but you also hear people say it whenever they're under siege from the media or politicians. Whenever there's somebody who's investigating a politician for something they've done allegedly wrong, it's a witch hunt. It's a witch hunt. It's a witch hunt. Didn't start with Donald Trump. Continued with Donald Trump, but it didn't start with Donald Trump. But yeah, they say witch hunt, witch hunt, witch hunt. You're going to say that there's a witch hunt against police, and just to set the parameters, the original witch hunt, you had hysteria. You had people living in a time of uncertainty and lack of security. You had religious fervor. You had, according to some accounts, girls going through puberty and the mystery of crazy hormones. And you also had people who benefited greatly from their neighbors being convicted of witchcraft.
Yeah, because they were given money.
They were given money. They picked
up their neighbor out.
Landed property. And in the McCarthy hearings, you had people who traded on a lot of political capital, and there were some winners there. Joe McCarthy was a winner for a while. Obviously, he's going to be seen as a fairly infamous character these days, but there was a lot of political capital at that time that came out of the McCarthy trial. So when you're talking about witch hunt now against police, you think there's a witch hunt against police?
I think they're scrutinized with a very, very fine-tooth comb. However, in some instances, that's probably a good thing. But there's another case, a carjacking case we're going to talk about in a few minutes, that on the surface, just as a layman reader, you're like, wow, they're going to charge that cop for helping the guy who someone tried to kill him as they were carjacking his vehicle. Yep. So I think in some instances, I think the district attorney's offices, prosecutors in whatever county or state an officer is being looked upon for, acting inappropriately on a call, I think it is a witch hunt. But then again, in some instances, cops do stupid shit. And they put themselves in situations where it wasn't worth even the effort of being a cop in that situation. And you just let the situation unfold as it will. If that's what they want, that's what they're going to get. And cops have that mentality.
Well, that's right. And that's
they have a lot of cops have that mentality. You're going to arrest us for defending people. Guess what? We're not going to defend people because we're the last line of defense.
Right.
It's an ego. And if we don't defend people, who's going to defend you?
And this is an ego thing, right?
Absolutely, it's an ego thing. What do you think, Nathan?
Jesus fucking Christ.
Is he still awake?
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know why you wake him up. He's always in such a bad mood.
All right, Nathan, we'll get you on the carjacking.
I'm going to wait to hear more details.
Okay.
First.
I mean, this is certainly a problem of, I shouldn't say it's a problem of cops don't make it. It's I mean, obviously, you can look at it, and I think one of the problems we've got here is the cops so often in quote unquote defending the thin blue line, you wind up covering for each other. Like this guy in the moped, the lieutenant.
Yeah, they probably, I don't know what their story was.
Right.
What they said to the investigators, but obviously the investigators ain't buying it. So now they're going to have to defend themselves. Okay. And if they look back at it, they're probably going to say, why didn't we just let this kid go? Who cares? It's a moped. Come on.
Right. Well, I think it's almost one of these things where, and of course we're sitting around a table. They're sitting on they're in their cars. They're seeing it happen in real life. I mean, all of us have had situations where...
Dave, if I told you, I can't even tell you the stories that I let people go for certain things in my life.
Oh, yeah?
Absolutely.
Like what? Name one.
I don't know.
How many murders?
Kids selling drugs in the high school.
Okay.
Get out of here, kid.
Go
home.
Well, here's the interesting thing about that. How about the fact that so much has been taken away from police in terms of the ability to make their own decisions on the street?
Police discretion.
Discretion. That's the word I'm looking for.
Stick with me, Dave. I got all the key words for you.
I was going to say, I was trying to think of the way you pronounced it to think, did he say discretion? No, he ran through that one. But police discretion. The good thing about it is that the cop who would let the drunk driver drive away now has to bust him, because otherwise he owns.
Oh, I would never let a drunk driver drive away.
Right.
I would take their keys and give them a ride home.
Okay.
Or something to that effect.
And even that can be problematic because there have been people who've come back with their other set of keys.
Absolutely. Happened to me one time.
Because, there's nothing like a drunk.
No, nothing like a gnarly drunk who gets home and is all pissed off and walks down the street and grabs that car.
I'm not drunk.
Okay,
I'm all right. I haven't killed myself yet. I love that argument. I think that's always one of the best. But, tort law has done a lot of good things in terms of protecting victims or potential victims, but they've also taken away discretion. I think is that the biggest thing that's taken away police discretion?
I would think so, yeah. I would think so, because you have to think of liability.
Yeah.
Now.
Tort law, Nathan, is when something happens in the street, and because something happens, they sue them.
Civil law, they sue them.
They sue them, and then once they sue them, the law changes. The law being very complicated and living thing that will change over time. And but one thing that changes law is tort law. So they make a ruling. You can't you can't let a guy. You can't let a guy drive home because he's a mile from his house. Now, any cop that does that, his department's going to get sued if there's a mistake made, or if tragedy ensues.
God forbid the guy drive into a train going through the crossing and dies in a fiery fucking car wreck. God forbid that happens.
That would be terrible.
That would be terrible.
That would be terrible.
It would be.
Why do I think you don't think it's going to be terrible? Both of you two. It's like you're the bloodlust in this room. All right, so let's talk about the carjacking. So you think that there is you're kind of calling it a witch hunt
to a certain degree.
Obviously, the police beatings and the hassling and the
cops do bad things.
Yeah,
absolutely they do.
And the problem.
No, say it isn't so. No. No, I thought they were all moral beacons of hope. You're saying they do bad things? Oh, no.
I'm not sure if he's commenting on what we're talking about or if he's talking in his sleep.
Yeah.
All right, carjacking. St. Louis deputy indicted for murder. A carjacking victim says that the officer saved his life, but the deputy was indicted for murder. And this is a weird one, man. This is a weird one. Earlier this week, James Buchanan was indicted for second-degree murder and armed criminal action for shooting and killing the suspected carjacker. This is back, again, 21 years ago.
No, this wasn't 21 years ago.
Oh, I'm sorry.
July 2020.
Yeah, maybe we can fix that in the editing. You can take care of that.
Fix it in the editing, Dave.
July 2020. So this Stephen Burgess was basically being carjacked, right? He's being carjacked.
He's in the McDonald's drive-thru.
67-year-old man. And all of a sudden, this person, Burgess, walks up. William Burgess walks up and attempt to stab him through the window with a screwdriver.
With a screwdriver, they get out of the car. They let the guy have the car because obviously common sense would prevail. You don't want to die.
Yeah.
Just give someone your car. Give him your wallet.
I would do that.
Absolutely.
I would do that.
I wouldn't. Not that they would want your wallet. You get no money in it, Dave. But they'll take something.
What I try to save? I try to save the McDonald's food. Anyway, so they take the guy's pickup. They threaten the guy. They take his pickup.
And as they're driving away, they almost hit him.
Yeah, they try to run him over. The guy's with his 10-year-old grandson, 67-year-old man with a 10-year-old kid, and this creep is stolen his truck and is now either on purpose or accidentally trying to sideswipe him with his truck. This is from the St. Louis County Media Relations Officer. Police officers stopped to assist the victims, and a fully uniformed but off-duty deputy, this guy Buchanan, chased down the subject and shot him.
And I think that's where it might have gone back to him.
Chasing him.
Let me just give you this example.
Yep.
All right. It's referred to as the fleeing felon law. All right, but I'll get into that in a second. But this is the example. Dave, someone breaks into your house.
Okay.
All right.
Nathan,
you have a gun.
Nathan, wake up. Wake up.
You have a gun.
Yep.
They break into your house. There's maybe a little struggle. You punch the guy. You threaten to shoot him. He runs out the door.
Yep.
He runs down the street.
And as soon as he leaves the residence,
pretty much as soon as he leaves the residence and he's running away, but you're still pissed off because he woke you up.
Yeah.
All right. He took your nice little Rolex watch that you bought in New York City.
I have a
for
Rolex?
50, yeah, a fake one because you probably got ripped off buying it, and you shoot him 100 yards from your house. Guess
Nice
what?
shot. That's a good shot.
Thank you.
Guess what, Dave?
I was shooting at a bird.
You're probably going to be charged with that because once the threat is leaving, is trying to flee.
Yeah.
All right.
Then it's not a threat anymore.
Usually it's not. And if you kill him or shoot him, you could be charged. This happens in Texas. Everyone's happy.
Yeah.
You can shoot them a mile from your house in Texas.
Yeah.
They don't care because you ain't going to fuck around in Texas.
Well, it's funny because you get the stand your ground law, which we all
in
know.
Florida. That's a big one in Florida.
Which we either know or we think we know. Because I think it's stand your ground. Somebody comes into your house.
Yeah.
They're gonna whatever. They're threatening. They're in your house, therefore they're threatening you.
Yep.
I know that at one point there was a thing that said if there's a back entrance, you got to go. That's got to be option one, and shooting is option two, but not in Florida, right?
Oh, Florida that's a very lax law. I mean, you could be beefing with someone in a convenience store, and if there's a threat there, and you think that threat can take you out, I guess you can use whatever force you want to neutralize it. There have been people who have shot people during fights in Florida, and they get off on it because their law is a little different down there. In Texas, it's a little different. But in St. Louis, I think what probably happened was this guy was fleeing in the vehicle. He was leaving the scene. So the threat to anyone at that McDonald's probably wasn't at the moment. And the cop chased him down and probably shot him. So that's probably why they're charging him.
Right. And realistically, you could say, well, let's put it this way. Realistically, you could say this guy is a bad dude. Although, who knows? Maybe he's a drug addict. Maybe he was
could be just
out.
a drug addict and just needed some drugs.
Yep. Why he tried to
Stab him?
No, hit the guy, hit him.
Yeah.
hit him. I think that's the big thing. I mean,
most drug addicts aren't good drivers, especially when they're fiending for crack.
If that's the case, and we don't really know.
We don't know.
I mean,
if he's
he
a
could
drug
be
addict.
just a bad guy, or he could be. And I guess the history of the deputy involved has got to be considered as part of this too.
Yeah, they didn't put that out there. I don't know if he has a history. He could be a what's the word?
Exemplary.
There you go.
Or you would say exemplary.
He could be a great cop.
Yep.
However, in this situation, he may have acted outside of the law.